How's it going there, everybody? This is Samuel Fisher from Green Dispensary Marketing, back again with another guest. Really excited to talk with Joseph Khoury from CannabisRegulations.ai. He's got a really exciting product, really interesting idea, and unique offering in the cannabis space, and really excited to talk with him, learn more about his product. How are you doing today, Joseph?
Good, Sam. How you doing, brother?
Doing well, man. It's a Friday, just relaxing, getting some work done to finish up the week, and talking to you, talking to great people like yourself. We connected on LinkedIn, and I noticed you have this really cool product called CannabisRegulations.ai. We're going to talk about that, but I'm really first curious to learn more about you personally. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, your personal journey, how you got into
Yeah,
the cannabis industry?
absolutely. As with, I think most people in cannabis, it's never a straight path into it. It's quite a windy road. But when I was in college, I had this idea I would roll joints as I was going to surf, snowboard, etc. I was always rolling on the back of my phone and thought, with 3D printing, there's got to be some product to make a phone case that has a rolling tray on it. So I invented this product at 18, while at college, 3D printed it, pre-sold a bunch to dispensaries, and living in college, you are living with your customers. So, figured out, got some great professors to help me understand the engineering side of it, and then founded what was iRolly in 2015, was a accessory manufacturer at the time, producing our patented rolling tray phone case. That started doing really well, started selling a ton of units, started getting a bunch of web interest and viral digital marketing, which enabled us to be able to, we had all this traffic, but we couldn't capitalize on it due to our limited product offering. So we expanded to a marketplace where other people could sell their own similar, cannabis accessories. At the time, it was called tobacco-only accessories. It was a different time then, but nonetheless, we became a marketplace. Other similar products were able to sell through our web channel, and then they'd be able, we'd make a commission off the sale. They would fulfill it. That brought us to the next evolution of the business, that was becoming a wholesale distributor. So we would be able to see e-commerce traffic and conversion rates, and if products performed well enough online, we would pick them up in distribution quantities to, then wholesale to dispensaries. That opened up a whole new revenue stream of customizing accessories to wholesale partners, dispensaries, head shops, anybody looking for smoking promotional items, which was great. Really helped the business grow, give us much more steady revenue. And then, we were interfacing with these dispensary customers constantly. We're saying they're getting beat up on their packaging pricing and looking for better packaging solutions for cannabis. So we worked with our manufacturers to get these produced in line with the child resistant requirements, as well as a value-added service where we would integrate some digital marketing solutions. Say digital marketing solutions, it was QR codes on the bags to bring you to email capture forms, which in 2018 was revolutionary. This was before COVID and everybody knew what QR was. So we had that, that got us really reliable revenues, providing customized packaging to dispensaries, and really able to grow the business significantly. And then that was in 2018 when we were acquired by MariMed Inc., which is a multi-state operator based out of Boston. They have a suite of premier cannabis brands, producing products themselves, as well as owning a number of dispensaries under a few different brands across the country, and came on as one of the early hires at MariMed, and was able to see the industry from the inside, which led me to some of the insights where cannabis compliance seems to be the absolute rabbit hole and mystery, that, there's a lot of institutional knowledge in employees and, people that are in these industries, but for people trying to enter markets or provide services to these markets, it becomes a real challenge without any compliance information readily accessible. So that, brought us to identifying the problem that CannabisRegulations.ai is tackling.
So let's talk about this. I was just playing around with it. It's CannabisRegulations.ai. If you want to check it out for yourself, there's a free version where you can just play with it, see if you can try to trick it to say something that's incorrect. But I was testing it out. It looks pretty legit. And so let's break this down just for anybody who's not familiar with kind of how the technology works. What is CannabisRegulations.ai? How does it work? And what does it
Yeah.
do for the market?
So it's a compliance platform. We call it an AI empowered compliance platform. What that means is we have a custom knowledge base, which is comprised of state regulations, state bills and legislature, the bulletins from the state traceability systems like Metric and BioTrack, as well as guidance from the individual regulating state entities, and then the guidance, the rulings from actual cases tried within the state courts and federal. So one of the problems with cannabis compliance is you have the need to comply with regulations, but regulations and guidance that exists in various pockets, whether it be the systems you have to operate, being Metric, which have, from one state to another, different requirements around package sizes, different requirements around product equivalency. So you have this problem where you have products that in Massachusetts, maybe 1 gram is equivalent to 100 milligrams of edibles, but in Colorado, that same 1 gram of flower could be equivalent to 300 milligrams of edibles. So the need to be able to readily identify compliance requirements has been there throughout. And, we'd seen that problem. And last November, we've been operating for about a year, just under a year. Notice that, one of the biggest problems is gathering the information. Any AI is really as good as the information and data backing it. So we began gathering the knowledge base using primitive, GPT assistants and things to layer on top of the knowledge base to try to process the information, which has limitations. So what we did, in February of this year at CannADataCon, which is a cannabis data conference in Miami, was able to give a keynote on how to prepare data for AI and similarly launch this, the first publicly commercially beta product of Cannabis Regulations.ai compliance platform. And we got great insights from a group of technical users early on that were able, these are people asking these questions. A POS company that has to have one product that accommodates 50 different state regulations. So these are people that live this problem every day, and we were able to fine tune our solution with them. One of the big, some of the biggest updates being reading in all of these regulatory updates, as well as state bulletins and system bulletins, and creating a chronological cadence. Our knowledge base is a really large database that has these items tagged by the subject they're covering, the date it was published, the authority which it was published. And then we have what's called a RAG, a custom retrieval method that through training, for basically 7 months, we just monitored responses, started iterating, changing the retrieval method, ensuring the responses were in line with the questions. Because you can imagine, cannabis users have a very esoteric language. I'll give you one example. We had people in California asking how many packs in a metric package. Packs referring to pounds, a colloquial term, when the system sees packs as pre-roll packs. So these are the little things that you notice. And, one of the big things is you need AI to be fine-tuned in private and then launched once it's been fine-tuned. I think a lot of companies sort of change that cadence a little, and not for naught, the Silicon Valley method is launch, break stuff, and, scale fast. That, the quality of your product is the quality of the answers. So ensuring that quality of the answers requires a real monitored learning period of time where you're, reviewing these manually. So, we were in that process from November last year till about late July of this year. And that is when we it has passed our requirements of over 98.8% response accuracy, the proper document sourcing. And we launched a few huge product updates that pulls the sources yourself, delivers the insight of your question, as well as cites where in the regulatory text, bulletin text, etc., that this insight is referencing. So one of the big things was people were getting great insights, but they're like, I don't really have an ability to prove it. Now we pull exactly what source document this insight came from, and what text within that source it came from. So it gives you everything you need to be able to trust that the insights you're getting are accurate. And, that's from a tech perspective, we take a lot of that onus is on us to ensure its accuracy. And we assumed, you guys will be able to validate based on our assurance that this is accurate, which for us, it's much easier to return all the documents, show you guys the accuracy, and then teams themselves be able to really, identify any nuance there or any requirements they need to go to the state to clarify. So it's been, if I could sum it up, you have a comprehensive knowledge base specific to cannabis compliance. That means aggregating 10 different data sources that dictate cannabis compliance in each state. Then we have a layered custom retrieval, AI retrieval method that sits on top of this knowledge base that has been trained and fine-tuned for over 9 months, which we have trained to identify what from the user query does that mean in terms of the text that it's referencing. And, legal jargon, it's not meant for, it's meant for laws and statutes, not the layman understanding it. So it's been a great, we've been able to deliver optimized retrieval on top of the most comprehensive knowledge base in cannabis compliance to deliver what is, powerful insights that are saving teams from hundreds of thousands of fines, as well as, decreasing the retainers they have to pay to legal every month, and enabling those retainers to be higher level conversations around things that are unclear in the regulations. It's not simply, command effing a regulatory document and trying to understand, gather your own requirements. The requirement gathering is done for you and automated. Now there are elements of how something is enforced and how it's written are not completely clear. We try to fill that loop by piping in the rulings in each state on regulatory cases, but ultimately, we're automating all of the information gathering so that you guys can maximize your time in the critical thinking that computers can't do.
Yeah. And I was checking out the website, as I was saying yesterday, and one thing that really stood out right away is that there's different chat bots, I guess you might say, for each different state. And so whether you're in Washington, D.C., which technically is named a state, or Colorado, you can ask state-specific questions as opposed to just going on Google and just hoping that you get the best results. Another thing I wanted to kind of follow up on that you were already touching upon was specifically like the results or the answers that it gives you. Oftentimes in cannabis, and not just cannabis, really just in marketing in general, there's kind of a stigma against AI. And so one of the common things that people will say against these AI chatbots is that they tend to lie, give out bad information. I've personally found that, yeah, of course that happens, but it really depends on kind of the data that you're training the AI on, and not necessarily the quality of the AI bot itself. What would you say about that?
So I think you're completely hitting on where the trust layer needs to be mended in AI. I think as with early things, you saw crypto. It wasn't the most savory characters that were the first to come to it. It was people you generally don't trust. AI got a bad rep where everybody who failed in crypto became an AI expert. I have a saying that if somebody can't explain how an AI works to you as a non-technical person, they really don't know how it works themselves. And that's a good, sort of qualifier as you look at and assess AI tools. But one of the big things is everybody's eager to launch. They're not eager to ensure accuracy. And that's where I think we're in the unique position where we've trained this in the dark for over a year. And we've done monitored learning with actual humans on every response. So before we tried to take a dollar from anybody, we ensured the accuracy ourselves of not only the response, the quality of the information in the knowledge base, and they all had many iterations. We went from static documents that were in the knowledge base without any augmented tagging. Then we realized we need to better train the AI to identify which document is related to what question. So if you have a question about packaging requirements, now we're tagging the document in our database with packaging requirements as one of the topics. So it has an improved ability to process that information, and then you tag it with the date it was published, the publishing authority, and you start creating these micro logic centers within each state for here is the cannabis authority in that state. They're really the authority on how regulations work, but there is, like California Department of Water Usage or something. They have guidance from 1982 on how much your water usage can be. It is applicable to cannabis and cultivation facilities, but it may not be the most relevant. So you have to both qualify your documents, qualify the authority around it, qualify the information in there, and assign a logic to the cron.
Oh, shit. Don't do this again. Internet.
Or do you... Oh, you okay?
Yeah, are you still there?
Can you hear me?
It had an internet hiccup, sorry.
Yeah. Dude, no worries at all. No worries at all. You can leave it in. You can leave it in. It's honest, man. Yeah, so I don't know where I was. I was saying, so you have to, basically, we went through 5 iterations of the product before we publicly launched. And at the essence of the distrust with AI is that nobody put an assertion of the quality of what they're responding before they launched it. They didn't manually validate the data, the knowledge bases. They didn't manually validate the responses. They're basically throwing their hands up saying, look, this is what the AI did. Yeah, it's my product. Yeah, I'm selling you on these benefits, but ultimately it is, I can't assert the accuracy of it. We see that as a fundamental problem. And I do want to be clear. It is, even our custom retrieval method based off all of this industry and state specific information, it is an AI that is able to automate the requirement gathering. And so we do generative. So we can say stuff like, write a business plan for a dispensary located in Sedona, Arizona, that is inclusive of every single compliance we need. And, here, write this out. Our word is don't copy and paste that. Obviously copy and paste it, but manually review it. Maybe, there's just stuff that aren't in regulations, that aren't in provided documentation, that may be real in real life. And that's why I do think a lot of people fear a lot of people that fear AI taking jobs. It's going to take jobs that are requirement gathering. And I don't, if there's something that's just information retrieval, there's a very real world where that does that, but it allows you to position yourself much more in the critical thinking position of, here is everything that is a requirement. Here is why it's a requirement, what document it's from. Now, how with these requirements do we gather the greatest plan forward or, identify opportunities for differentiation within a market? So I do think, there's the distrust is due to people being too eager to launch and launching products that probably were not mature or accurate enough to be ready for the public. But, similarly, if you're not owning every process of it from the knowledge base to the retrieval, you really cannot assert any quality because you have no control or accountability. And, that was something we learned early on. We were using GPT assistants. How it retrieves the information, we have no ability to control. So we realized, all right, not only do we have to own the knowledge base, but we have to build out a custom retrieval method that handles all this information processing, because otherwise we'll be shackled by what, this vendor does or that vendor does. So I do think total accountability, which does require a deep understanding of the technology, is one of the biggest differentiators of why, you not only need super technical people working on the product, but they have to be able to explain it in non-technical terms, and it makes sense because it's not rocket science. I mean, you hear it sounds like it, but it really is connecting, automating information gathering and information disbursement from a set of information, which is at its core, not a foreign concept. And I think, you should be able to explain it in a way that everybody can understand, because it's not rocket science.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's really great about what you're doing is you're really transparent on your source material, and you're talking about how it's using like rulings based on cases and that judges are giving, and this is where the information is coming from, and so this is exactly what the AI is looking at when it's trying to give you an answer based on your question, whether it be regarding, can I put an ad here right next to this school, and obviously you can't, and it'll give you that sort of answer. And I think that's really great. And another thing I'm kind of curious about is how your product protects the data of its users. And so, for example, if I'm going to ask a question, then I'm going to start talking about my license number, where I'm located, and maybe my revenue numbers. Is that information going to be private, or how exactly does that aspect work with CannabisRegulations.ai?
Yeah, so none of that is processed into our engine that powers everybody's accounts. So it's not, if you share plans to develop a dispensary in Sedona, Arizona or something, that's, if somebody asks who's making dispensaries in Sedona, Arizona, that would never come out. We have data gates. What we have in our latest launch is team-based organizations, which gates the information gathering and the chat history to each team. So those on your team can utilize similar information and the AI that's being trained on additional feedback from your team, but that's specific only to your organization. That's not shared across the board, which I know is one of the problems of using GPT and these sort of off-the-shelf models is they say we will ingest all your data and it will become in our master model, which is why you have GPT not HIPAA compliant and others. But, one of the nice things is while people validate things for future plans, I think the nature of our product is one that enables compliance historically, validating historical compliance, ensuring ongoing, and then you validate future plans. But we're not seeing a ton of, none of the information is shared between other users or organizations. It's only in the model to better teach itself. But none of this can be accessed, even if somebody specifically asked, a response that you just asked it would never respond with that information because it doesn't index or store it. It temporarily reads it to better improve its ongoing responses, but it's not storing this information nor making it accessible to anyone, even itself.
Yeah, that's really important. Losing my train of thought here.
No worries, man.
Oh, yeah. So another question I had is kind of based on the topic of how information changes over time. And so, like a big example would be if we reschedule to Schedule 3, kind of how that impacts and filters down to the state level. What exactly is your process for updating the information to make sure that the compliance information spit out is factual in that regard and up to date?
So that's some of our secret sauce. But we have, a scraping module that scrapes regulatory updates. We have indexed where all these, where updates are posted, and we ingest that into our model with a daily review of what has been everything stages before it's ingested for manual review. We have more Google alerts than you'd care to ever see in an inbox around, hemp and cannabis. And that is one of the things is we do pull all the hemp information and we do pipe the federal hemp into the state models as well as state level hemp regulation into the models as well. So for example, California just had one of the most restrictive hemp legislation passed like earlier in the week. We had that the same day in our model. And so as you're asking questions, it's updated with, maybe there's a 24-hour delay. We do have a paralegal that combs the entire knowledge base and audits it monthly to ensure that nothing was missed. And then we have a really exciting announcement that I cannot say yet, but we have a very strong talent with a lot, having founded some of the biggest cannabis regulatory organizations for different states, coming on as our, I can't share the title yet, but joining our team is one of the biggest powerhouses in cannabis regulations and the authority who has regulated it for a number of states. So we're backfilling that with experience and people as well. So, we'll have not only the technology side, but the actual regulatory authority that has done it everywhere, knows the ins and outs of how regulation works, how states rule on it, what the internal processes are on our team, and one of the strongest leadership roles. So we are beyond confident that between the tech and the people, we got it all covered.
Yeah, and it's kind of touching upon something I wanted to discuss with you. And so a lot of people, a lot of dispensary owners, they'll have their own counsel, their own legal counsel, and they'll ask them really stupid questions and maybe pay them, $200, $300 an hour. Have you seen any dispensary owners, brands, MSOs, anything in that regard, executives who are kind of switching the trust over to your CannabisRegulations.ai product?
Yeah, so we want to be clear. We're not here to replace a lawyer. We're here to complement them. At the end of the day, you may pay what is a paralegal or someone $300 an hour to do what is essentially research within documents. Our AI automates all that, so you can gather all of your requirements for a fraction of what it would cost with legal. But that doesn't mean get rid of your retainer. It means utilize that retainer for higher value questions in the compliance chain, being, look, the regulations say you're taxed 15% on vape products. We saw that vape products are defined as X, Y, and Z, but what it isn't clear about is a vape product inclusive of the non-cannabis battery, or is it just the cartridge? That, until the state gives guidance on it or it's ruled on, that information doesn't exist anywhere, and that's where you really do need these attorneys to be able to create, with a institutional knowledge of the local industry, the regulators, you hope. That's where these guys come in and you can utilize that time for higher value questions as opposed to saying, what are my advertising restrictions as a dispensary? That's what we can pull right away, show you the citations, and, that won't take 3 weeks to get back from law firm. You'll get it right away, and then you can say, look, can you guys validate this? So now, you're decreasing your capital required for legal retainers, and you're increasing the speed at which your business operates. So you're seeing compounding efficiencies there, which, our customers have seen huge success with. But cannabis, regulations do have plenty of gray area. We try to fill whatever may be gray with the rulings, because how it's written and how it's enforced can be two different beasts. And, if they're enforcing it one way and it's written this way, how it's enforced is really the dictator of what is compliant. So there's more than enough of that for every lawyer in this country to stay busy.
Yeah, and I think, sorry for cutting you off. One thing I think is really cool is kind of how you use the source material straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, straight from the judge, straight from whatever. And then at the same time, you're having a paralegal monthly kind of scan the information to make sure it's still factual. Have you thoughts, or are you going to boost kind of your collaboration between the legal industry and also your platform? Is that kind of in your goals for the future?
Yes, we have a very we have a really big feature coming that is very focused with legal and curating even specific legal around these higher value questions. So we can't reveal it yet, but in short, absolutely.
That is so awesome. And so once again, this is CannabisRegulations.ai. You can use it to ask compliance questions based on what state you're in. It's scanned by paralegals every month. All the source data comes straight from the horse's mouth, straight from the legal industry. Sounds like a really great product. Once again, you can go to CannabisRegulations.ai. Starting to wrap up here, I'm kind of curious about your marketing strategies. Can you discuss some of the marketing strategies that you have been using to kind of market your product, stand out, get some sales?
So, man, I mean, that's where I think we're a little unique in that case, that we are product first. The way we like to look at our business is product-led growth. Our founders are all technical. So we utilize an affiliate network and word of mouth. And right now, that's all we're doing. We have plans to grow that significantly in the short term. But as you said, you get one chance at a first impression. And if you have, we didn't want to start promoting heavily until we were certain of the quality and accuracy. And we're luckily at that point now. And we're beginning a number of promotional activities. But you can ask anyone. It's me posting on LinkedIn how we got connected, talking to people, as well as, our current customers referring people, which has been huge. And, we have an affiliate program that we are welcoming all people to join. It really is one of our biggest avenues. We are the first cannabis AI compliance platform. We are hyper transparent. Our goal is to provide you all the documentation we're generating these insights on, prove it to you, and you get 3 free queries. So we really do put our money where our mouth is. Try it before you buy it. And, we want you to see the efficiency for yourself. And that's lended itself to really great word of mouth marketing. We have a number of things coming up, which you'll definitely see in time. We're, as I mentioned, we're about to really come out of our shell. And Sam, we connected at the perfect time where we're really starting to do the promo circuit. But you will be able to see, a number of sales and marketing initiatives coming probably in the next 2 to 3 months, really beginning in the next month. And I promise they'll be entertaining.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I think I was talking to the CEO of Rolling Relief. I was just asking him, hey, what's your favorite prospecting strategy to get some new clients? He said networking. And I think it's something that kind of echoes throughout the whole cannabis industry. I think it's really interesting. On my end, personally, I've had some success with SEO, web design.
So that's, if we're big, take a look at our site. We have one of the great, we have a really beautifully designed site. We have a number of blogs. We have one of the highest authority keywords in our domain, CannabisRegulations.ai. So we're seeing a ton of passive growth through digital strategies. But I've been in the industry 10 years. I know a lot of people. I really, it's these relationships and insights that lead you to products that really solve real problems. So one can't really be taken without the other. And, you talk about Rolling Relief. I'm here in Boston. Devin is, one of the Boston really prolific cannabis entrepreneurs. So that's, something that really does ring true is if people need to like you to want to buy from you. And more importantly, they need to trust you. You got one name, don't wear it out, be earnest and do what you say. I've been doing that for 10 years. So it's allowed, this sort of more tacit promotion in the early days to yield some great success.
Yeah, great tips all around. Just a few more kind of fun questions for you, Joseph. I appreciate your time. We've been going at it for a little while here. Really, these are kind of fun questions. You don't have to answer them if you don't want to, but I'm really curious, first of all, about the first time you tried cannabis.
I was with my buddy. We were at his parents' house. We got a can of Coca-Cola, poked the holes in it, made a little carb. I was a little younger than I'd like to admit and wouldn't endorse for everybody, but the classic story of just getting completely ripped, sitting on a couch, ripping bags of Doritos and trying to hide it from watchful parental eyes. So
yeah, who would have thought that one night turned into a career for you too,
to many mothers' dismay, but it is.
That's funny stuff. These days, what's your favorite cannabis product?
So man, I'm old school. I invented a rolling tray phone case because I roll blunts. So it's not the healthiest. If I'm really locking in for the night, I love to do an edible. I'll just lay out. But I'm very much a smoke backwoods blunts type of guy. And it's not good on the wallet. So maybe a little more weed and wasteful, but it's tough to break old habits.
Yeah, well, and it's what you prefer to, so who cares, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Lastly, kind of looking into your crystal ball, knowing what Joseph Khoury knows, you say you've been here for 10 years. What do you think is coming for the cannabis industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
Against the years of disappointment, I do see some rescheduling coming, which will open up a lot of cash flow to the actual operators. I think a lot of operators are so mired with 280E that they're unable to, the cash in the actual capital structure, capital markets are wicked dry. The ability to generate your own cash flow to fund growth is difficult due to 280E. But as that happens, you're going to see, what we discussed before, where there was in the early days of cannabis, the need to differentiate wasn't as big because you were scarcity. You were one or two dispensaries in town. So you're going to be making money hand over fist. As markets started to mature, you started to see the need to differentiate and compete becoming bigger. And, from the store manager managing the e-commerce, you have, company, Sam Fisher's and others that are contracted to really take an eye from a expert perspective as to how to tackle digital growth, how to tackle in-store growth, how to tackle growing each customer, what channels there are. So I think we're reaching another phase where now with a rescheduling and more cash being available, these cannabis operators will have more capital available to invest in meaningful technology and differentiation. Well, I think technology in cannabis has been, except for some of the big guys that really do it great. And, MariMed's always had a great eye towards innovation and technology. But outside of those, there's a lot, it's been seen, I'd say, more so as a cost center than a asset, where I think that'll start to shift. You'll see people building their own ERP tools that solve their exact problems. You'll see people buying less tech off the shelf, or they buy it off the shelf and configure it on the back end themselves. But I do think you're going to start to see some consolidation of tools, as well as a shift to tools that require differentiation. You'll see 30 dispensaries using the same online ordering. Like, yes, that's great, and it does solve the need, but I think that's a function of not having the resources internally to do it, which is a function of the tax structure. So as that happens, you'll start to see it, go the way of traditional retail. You have, every Nike has the same exact shopping experience, and they're going to battle against Adidas every day, online and in store. And, they both don't have the same online app ordering platform. They may follow similar methodologies. They may have similar, loyalty technology, but ultimately, you won't see them using the same exact tools. So that is, both an opportunity as well as, something to keep an eye on if you are one of the bigger guys.
Yeah, really great stuff. Great tips. Great insights. Great prediction too. Once again, this is Joseph Khoury. He runs a company called CannabisRegulations.ai. We'll leave a link in the description. It is an affiliate link, so if you buy from it, I'll get a little bit of money, just so you know. But appreciate having you on, Joseph. This has been really insightful, really great conversation. Congratulations on the product.
Thank you.
I personally predict it's going to do great things. But what do I know? I'm just a marketing guy. Do you have a last minute pitch? You want to get
the exact user. You're the guy who has to provide marketing, initiatives and objectives to dispensaries in a number of states, and you have to ensure each of them is compliant. So as, especially more specialists or consultants come in who need to be able to become institutional experts in each state, it's not viable to spend 2 years there learning everything. That's where tools like this are really going to enable you to catch up to speed on the industry requirements right away. So you can apply your expertise through a compliant lens that also enables you to come with the authority, you know that what I'm giving you is not only expert from the marketing world, but also from the state-specific compliance world. So it is, you know, anybody who's trying to operate, understand, or provide services to cannabis, there's a use case. And if you don't believe me, go to the site and just ask. You get 3 free questions. Go ask for yourself. We love, you know, we want to prove it before anybody spends a dollar. So come with your actual real compliance questions and let our compliance platform answer it for you.
Yeah, completely agreed on that. Thanks so much for your time, Joseph Khoury. I wish you all the best, and I'm excited to hear more from you and partner with you on this.
Me too, man. Thanks for the time.
Yep, you have a great day.